It was a Tuesday, like any other Tuesday really, the kind of day that blends into the week, unremarkable and routine. I was making coffee, desperately trying to ignore the impending doom of another news cycle. Then my phone pinged, a text. No big deal, right? Wrong. This was no ordinary message. This wasn't your average, "You up?" or "New phone, who dis?" It was something far more serious. This was a message that would turn my world upside down. A message that would change everything. The first few words were innocuous enough. Mike, update on Yemen, just a simple update, or so it seemed. But then came names, dates, details that made my heart race. Military jargon I vaguely recognized from too many hours lost to cable news. My pulse quickened. This was serious. This was not meant for me. My name isn't Mike. I was never supposed to see this, and I certainly shouldn't be privy to classified military operations. This was top secret information. The gravity of the situation hit me like a ton of bricks. I felt a wave of panic wash over me. I wasn't just reading gossip or political maneuvering, this was something far more dangerous. This was the real deal. The kind of information that could change the course of events, the inner workings of a potential military strike. My stomach churned. This was bad. Very, very bad. I knew I had to act, but what could I do? The weight of the message pressed down on me, and I realized that my life would never be the same again. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the messages. Each one was a piece of a terrifying puzzle. Names I recognized from the news flashed across the screen. Waltz, Rubio, Vance. These weren't just politicians anymore. These were people actively planning a military operation with potentially devastating consequences. One message detailed proposed weapons packages, chilling in their technicality. Another discussed specific targets, sending a shiver down my spine. The casualness of their language was the most unsettling part. It was as if they were discussing a business deal, not the potential loss of human life. The sheer volume of information was overwhelming. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of acronyms and military jargon. This was bigger than me, much bigger, but who could I tell? Who would believe me? As I delved deeper into the messages, I began to uncover layers of information that were both shocking and revealing. Each message, each document seemed to peel back another layer of the administration's plans, exposing the intricate web of decisions and discussions that had taken place behind closed doors. A clearer picture began to emerge, one that was both complex and deeply troubling. The more I read, the more I realized the gravity of the situation. The Trump administration was planning a significant military operation in Yemen, targeting the Houthis. This was not just a minor skirmish, but a full-scale operation that would have far-reaching consequences. The messages revealed a heated internal debate. There were factions within the administration, each with their own agenda and perspective on how to proceed. Vance, it seemed, was hesitant, expressing concern over the economic fallout and potential inconsistency with their European messaging. He worried about the long-term implications and the message it would send to their allies. Hegseth, on the other hand, pushed for swift and decisive action. He believed that a strong show of force was necessary to achieve their objectives and to send a clear message to their adversaries. The messages painted a disturbing picture of the decision-making process at the highest levels of government. It was clear that there was a lack of consensus and a great deal of internal conflict. It was chaotic, impulsive, and seemingly driven by personal agendas rather than strategic considerations. The urgency and lack of clear direction were evident in every message. The casual disregard for human life was palpable. The potential for civilian casualties and the humanitarian crisis that would follow were barely mentioned, if at all. These were not the actions of a responsible world power. The lack of consideration for the broader implications was deeply troubling. One message in particular sent a chill down my spine. It was a stark reminder of the human cost of these decisions. It casually mentioned the likely death of a specific individual as a result of the planned strike. This was not just a military operation, it was an assassination. The implications of this were profound. The administration was willing to cross lines that many would consider unethical or even illegal. The weight of what I was reading pressed down on me. The responsibility to report this truthfully and accurately was immense, and the potential consequences were daunting. The implications of this security breach were staggering. Sensitive military plans, potentially detailing troop movements, targets, and timelines, were sitting on my phone. Anyone with access to my device could have seen them. It was a hacker's dream, a foreign government's gold mine. The thought sent shivers down my spine. This wasn't just about leaked information, it was about national security. Lives were at stake. The very foundation of our democracy felt shaken. How could something like this happen? How could such sensitive information be so carelessly handled? It was a stark reminder of the fragility of our systems, the ease with which they could be compromised. The people entrusted with our safety, with our very lives, had failed spectacularly, and I, a completely ordinary citizen, was left holding the smoking gun. Section 5. Legal landmines. Navigating the fallout. The legal ramifications of the situation were equally daunting. Each document I read seemed to pull me deeper into a labyrinth of legal jargon and potential consequences. The more I tried to understand, the more complex it all became. Was I breaking the law by simply possessing this information? The thought gnawed at me constantly. Every piece of paper, every file on my computer felt like a ticking time bomb. What about the Espionage Act? The words echoed in my mind, a constant reminder of the gravity of the situation. This wasn't just any law, it was one of the most severe. The potential penalties flashed before my eyes: jail time, fines, a life forever tainted by this incident. The fear of losing my freedom was paralyzing. I felt like I was caught in a legal spiderweb, unsure of which way to turn. Every decision seemed fraught with danger, every step a potential misstep. Could I even go to the authorities without incriminating myself? The fear of being misunderstood or worse, accused, kept me from seeking help. Who could I trust with this information? The circle of people I could confide in grew smaller by the day. Paranoia set in, making me question everyone's motives. The very people who were supposed to protect me were now potential adversaries. The lines between friend and foe blurred, leaving me isolated. The weight of the situation was crushing. It felt like the walls were closing in, the pressure mounting with each passing day. I was just an ordinary person caught in an extraordinary circumstance. My life had been simple, predictable, until this storm of chaos descended upon me. I never asked for this, never wanted any part of it. Yet here I was, entangled in a web of legal and moral dilemmas. Yet, here I was, thrust into the center of a national security crisis. The headlines screamed of espionage and betrayal, and I was at the heart of it all, struggling to find a way out. The gravity of the situation settled in, a heavy weight on my chest. I was sitting on a bombshell, information that could rock the nation, expose hypocrisy at the highest levels of government. But at what cost? Revealing the truth could have devastating consequences. It could jeopardize the lives of soldiers, damage diplomatic relations, and further erode public trust in the government. But then again, wasn't that already happening? Wasn't this secrecy, this blatant disregard for human life, the real threat to our democracy? The ethical dilemma gnawed at me. Silence felt like complicity, like condoning reckless actions. But speaking out could unleash a firestorm, with unpredictable and potentially dangerous consequences. It was a choice between two evils, a lose-lose situation. The decision to act weighed heavily on me, a constant pressure in my chest. Sleep was impossible, food unappetizing. The messages, a constant reminder of the ticking time bomb in my pocket. Finally, I made a decision. I couldn't stay silent. The risk of inaction felt far greater than the potential fallout of speaking out. I reached out to a journalist I trusted, someone known for their integrity and investigative prowess. The conversation was brief, tense. I explained the situation, the messages, my fear, my moral dilemma. There was a moment of stunned silence on the other end of the line before the journalist spoke, their voice tight with a mixture of caution and determination. They would look into it. They would be in touch. The days that followed were a blur of anxiety and adrenaline. The story broke, sending shockwaves through the nation. The messages now splashed across every news outlet confirmed everyone's worst fears about the Trump administration. There was outrage, denial, calls for investigations. The government scrambled to contain the fallout, issuing carefully worded statements blaming rogue elements, scapegoating individuals. But the damage was done. My life, as I knew it, was over. I became a reluctant whistleblower, my name forever linked to the scandal. There were threats, accusations, constant scrutiny, but there was also a sense of relief, a weight lifted. Looking back, the experience was a crash course in the fragility of our democracy. It exposed the recklessness, the arrogance of power, the ease with which our systems could be manipulated. It was a stark reminder that the fight for transparency, for accountability, is never truly over. The incident, though terrifying, ignited a spark of hope. It showed that even in the face of immense power, a single voice, armed with the truth, can make a difference. It reminded us that we, the people, are the ultimate guardians of our democracy. We cannot and must not ever stop holding those in power accountable.